You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted, and it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
Thanks for pressing play on this episode of the Two and Out podcast with Travis Currah and Brazilian Ty. It was an eventful week 4, so we do have lots to go through. Or was that only week 3?
It was week 3.
Only week 3, and we got lots to go through. Ty was in Waskesiu over the weekend. How was it, man? First of all, how were the mosquitoes?
Well, when we first got there, we figured they wouldn't be bad because there was wasps and horseflies everywhere. I got lit up. Bug spray did nothing.
Oh, there's certain places in Canada where the mosquitoes will end you.
I was talking to Jerry. I'm like, I think I'm going to bring pants, and he's like, it's going to be 30 degrees. Like, it's not going to have to worry about rain. He's like, we're not going to have to worry about rain. I'm like, that's not what I'm worried about.
Not and even the sun. It's the bugs.
No, I'm stronger than the sun. We've proven that. No, yeah. And I didn't take pants, and I got lit up.
Although you had some dicey situations with elk. I mean, as a kid, Whistler's campground in Jasper, one cow elk basically followed me into the bathroom. I had to go into the stall and lock the door. But you had some dicey situations, or what?
Yeah, walking in the dark alone, smart up there, right?
And look, Ty looks like a tasty meal, a tasty snack for something.
Yeah, like pretty lean meat now, though. Well, leaner. But yeah, I heard some rustling in the bush because, well, at first I was walking down the road along the lake, and I was on the lake side of it, and these people are yelling at me. It's like 1 a.m. I went to turn around. I wanted to turn around and be like, "What the is your problem?"
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to. I'm not, like, I will get my ass kicked, but I will mouth off back. And they're like,
Ty's mouth exponentially longer when he has backup. By the way,
like, cross the street. Oh, and I look up and there's 2 cows sitting right, basically like one hoof on the sidewalk.
Might have
across
young
the
ones
street.
Too.
Yeah. So I cross the street. So now I'm on the forest side of the road, and going, and I hear this rustling. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. So I stop, and this 10 feet in front of me, this cow elk walks out. I hear thrashing. I'm like, and a bull followed her out, and I'm like, get me out of here. And I get back to the camper, and Dave and my buddy who'd gotten back a little bit earlier, and we're kind of talking. He's like, yeah, like one of the garbage cans had a cougar painted on it. I'm like, well, yeah, there's prey, there'd be predators.
Yep.
So yeah, no more walking alone in the dark, which I did the next night anyway.
The BC Lions, speaking of cougars, wait, are they mountain lions or are they female lions in BC? They are mountain lions, right?
Mountain lions, cougars, and pumas are all the same thing.
No. But like a female lion in Africa looks like the BC Lions.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Or is it a mountain lion?
It's a mountain lion.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Making me look
stupid.
You had me confused.
But they crushed Winnipeg 30-6. If you would have told me that BC beat Winnipeg, I might have been like, oh, all right.
Must have been a shootout.
But by 24,
yeah,
and Winnipeg getting shut out in the second half, I actually told a buddy over the weekend, I said, holding Winnipeg to 6 might be more impressive than holding Edmonton to 0.
Well, because I feel like anybody could hold Edmonton to 0.
Well,
right?
It might happen again this year.
It very well could. Like, that's bad. But the fact that BC's giving up 6 points in 2 games, shut out 6 of those quarters, 7, I think. Like, that is ridiculous. And especially against the offense that Edmonton has, it is what it is. They still have weapons in Eugene Lewis. They just don't have a quarterback. But when you have an offense that Winnipeg has ran over teams the last 3 years to hold them to 6 points, that is very impressive.
Especially at IG Field. The
Mhm.
Lions hadn't won there since 2017, and in fact, the Bombers hadn't lost a home team to a West opponent or a home game to a West opponent since the Banjo Bowl in 2018. This has been a dominant run for Winnipeg, and I'm not saying it's over, but this is probably the weakest performance we've seen from them since Zach Collaros came into the fold.
Mhm.
He's like 25 games over 500
Yeah.
as
Then
a
that was
Bomber starter.
63 and 24. Well, that was his 100th start as a Bomber,
Yeah.
was it not?
No,
Or no, 100 career starts. 100
Yeah,
career starts.
yeah.
He's got 64 wins.
Yeah. That game was remarkable. Brady Oliveira, we were told he was a game time decision. It didn't look like he was any worse from the wear because
No.
they were giving him the ball right from the start. They were moving the ball, and the drive ended up in a field goal, I believe, for Winnipeg right off the start, and that was about the end of the success for
Mhm.
Winnipeg, because not only did we see Zach Collaros being under fire, we saw an undisciplined team. They've been the best when it comes to lack of penalties, and on the first drive, BC picking on the new rookie corner that was filling in for Demario Houston, he takes a PI, and then Desmond Lawrence takes another PI, and then there you go, touchdown BC. Alexander Holland's getting their first score of the game. We don't see many touchdown drives that the Bombers give up that aided by penalties.
Yeah, and at the same time, it also looked like their offensive line and defensive line, they were just not
They were losing
there.
in the trenches.
They were
Yep.
losing every battle, it felt like. And then after halftime, and well, I mean, even late in the first half, just didn't seem to be any adjustments made. They just kept trying to do the same stuff, the same things over and over again. And you can't do that when you're playing that poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And they just didn't seem to have an answer for BC's pass rush, which was getting to Collaros and knocking him down a lot and getting in his face, which we talk about how that offensive line has been so good for so long. Well, at some point,
Yeah.
Father Time is undefeated. I'm not saying they're old and aged out, but like you got to, at some point, yeah, you are going to get performances like this as guys get older and time starts to take its toll.
Any
It
given
just- it
Sunday,
did
any
not look
given
good.
Thursday, whatever it is. But I mean, the fact that the Lions were on a shorter week than Winnipeg
Mhm.
too, like everything that went into this, it's quite remarkable. I think maybe Winnipeg fans are probably still dumbfounded about this game, and I expect
They were
them-
booing,
yeah, they were.
which was completely deserved because O'Shea that was the worst coaching performance I've ever seen from Mike O'Shea.
I think
like-
they all look kind of shell shocked, hey?
But then you come out in the second half and nothing's changed.
Right.
Like you're still letting Vernon Adams Jr. just pick you apart. You're not making any adjustments defensively. It felt like do something, and it was just same old, same old. It almost felt like going in halfway through that third quarter is like whatever. On to next week, we'll just finish this out and move on.
It kind of did seem like that. It kind of seemed also. You remember at the beginning of the year, the Lions letting go Sean Lemon. They bring in Jonathan Kongbo. He goes off to Hamilton. And we were kind of wondering what's going on here. Now it's clear that they had a good pass rush already. And they had Canadians doing it. Like Betts and Menard. They were all over Collaros throughout the game. He had zero time. So I can't really blame him for what happened. It's just credit to Ryan Phillips and that Lions defense. Phillips might become a pretty hot commodity around the CFL in the coming years, and as the season moves on, as this Lions defense continues to improve.
Well, and you mentioned being a hot commodity. I think we're gonna have a coaching vacancy coming up very soon in the West Division.
There might be one in the East.
There might be one in the East as well. But yeah. Probably an offensive coordinator position too. But you have to think him, Mark Killam, guys like that we've seen, they've been coordinators for so long, and they are getting interviews, but at the same time, when you have that position that you have and you're winning, you want to go and try to fix something halfway into a rebuild, or do you kind of want to wait and see, wait for the right opportunity to come up? I know there's only 9 jobs as a head coach, but you don't want to get burned on your first go round.
Yeah. Now, some of the things we've seen from Winnipeg where they're down and then they fight back, second and long, they're never out, and a game they're never out, and a lot of times it's their response. You take the lead on them and then the counter punch just
game against Saskatchewan last week.
Exactly. But BC hit him with that. It was the end of the first half where Winnipeg is pinned deep. They started on their 1 yard line. Then they hit Carlton Agadosi with the 50-yard pass. That drive does end in a field goal, which I think is all right if you're starting from your 1.
Yeah.
So it's 10-6 to go in the first half. Bombers trailing. But here we go. BC answers back with a drive going into the room that ends in a Hollins touchdown with 2 seconds on the clock. 17-6 BC at the half. That is a dagger to the heart, man.
It's like a goal in the last minute.
Yeah. You give them that touchdown going into the room, that is deflating. So yeah,
deflating for your defense, and that offense is going to ride the momentum coming out in the second half, and that's what they did. Yeah. It just felt like Winnipeg just had no answers, no adjustments, no anything coming from, they were just flat.
Yep. I think it's Sione Tahima on the D line. He's also getting to Kalaris. I mean, there's nothing really you can say. Even the Bombers turning the ball over deep in their own end in the fourth quarter, a catch that Dembski should have had, but goes off his hands into the defender's arms. It was just all in all an uninspired effort from the Bombers, but the Lions were there to capitalize every single step of the way.
Yeah, and like you said, that's what Winnipeg does.
Yeah.
So for it to be such a reversal of roles, that's what made it just even more wild to watch. And now they know what it's like to be Rider fans.
It was still, when I talked to some Winnipeg fans, they were still in sort of a state of disbelief after 29 years of losing. But it doesn't take long.
It was too good to be true.
Yeah.
Right. But, and now, this team is crap. Fire everybody.
Missing
trade
the
everybody.
Playoffs.
Yeah.
Winnipeg's crossing over to the east.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Vernon Adams Jr., 20 of 29, a 69% completion percentage.
Nice.
2 touchdowns, no turnovers. That is the big stat there. And they didn't even, I found it amazing, didn't really get Mazzell going at all.
No.
10 carries for 50 yards. 5 yards a carry is pretty darn good, but they didn't use him to the extent they had up until this game.
And you would think with the way that game was going that you'd want to just run the clock out. But at the same time, you can give him a night off, a quasi night off, it's going to and win the game. That's going to make it better, or it's going to keep him fresher, later on in the year. It's almost like a little bit of a bye week.
Alexander Hollins, 8 catches on 10 targets, 83 yards and a touchdown. A big game for him with Dominic Rhymes on the sideline. Lucky Whitehead, his season debut, or did he play the first game? But anyway, he returned to the lineup. 5 catches, 72 yards. McKinnis,
could have been more.
Yeah. There was one where he had a massive play. He was offside.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of why he got the ball. But.
So open, yeah.
He had 72 yards, and you just look at the Bombers side. Nick Dembski had 55 yards. Carlton Agadosi, he had 61 yards on 5 catches. One of those, a 47-yard reception. Yeah, even Dalton Schoen looking human. 2 catches on 6 targets for 34 yards. And Brady Oliveira only got the ball 10 times, but he got it early and often.
That first drive was all Brady Oliveira, and then they just went away from it.
Yeah. Trying to catch BC off guard and hit him with the deep ball, and they were ready for it all along the way. But Zach Collaros getting sacked 7 times.
Yeah, that is not Winnipeg Bomber-esque.
No, giving up 104 yards in penalties where BC only gave up 50. Just a remarkable game from the BC Lions from start to finish, taking advantage of the mistakes that Winnipeg usually doesn't make, and it puts them on top of the West Division. Whoa. How about those Montreal Alouettes going into Hamilton? Maybe you could have
How about me changing my pick'em at the last minute?
To Montreal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good job. They crush the Ticats by 26, 38-12, the final in Hamilton's home opener. Matthew Shields getting the start. He
threw the ball 47 times.
So I sold out on my fantasy lineup, and I got James Butler in there just because of the way he had been used in the previous few weeks. The carries, the double-digit carries he was getting, the catches that he was making. And in this one, 5 carries. I realize it was only 14 yards, but also William Stanback didn't break that 40-yarder until the fourth quarter. They only gave him 9 carries himself. But James Butler getting the ball 5 times, and I think...
And he's targeted another 5.
And there were probably 3 of them on the final drive as they were just trying to kill the clock.
Yeah. It's not even good garbage time carries.
That's classic Hamilton play calling, isn't it?
That's Tommy Condell. Speaking of people who are probably going to get fired.
I mean, if you want to look at a bright spot, Tim White making the big plays, 7 catches on 12 targets, 143 yards. Duke Williams had 5 catches on 10 targets, 102 yards. So
second straight game at 102 yards.
So you have 2 100-yard receivers.
And you get 12 points.
No majors.
12 points.
Mark Leggio goes 4 for 4. I guess that's a positive.
Hey, take it where you can get it.
Winnipeg
They're
fans
hosting.
are saying, what's going on?
Yeah. Hamilton is hosting the Grey Cup. They were supposed to be all in. They looked like they were going to get Bo Levi Mitchell, adding a guy like Richie Sindani, Duke Williams. The first couple games are using James Butler, and Montreal made them look inept on Friday night. It was something else.
I think almost the entire league has looked over Montreal. I'm guilty of it. I thought they were probably going to be last in the East.
They're keeping Fajardo health, they're keeping him upright.
Yeah.
Which they would, I mean, that first game, it was a little bit deja vu-ish for last year, but the offensive line has gotten better as they've played a little bit more, and they're designing runs for him. He's able to scramble. Like I texted you today because I was watching the game. Like, is Fajardo actually good? Like,
he looks on target on those deep balls.
This was 2019 Cody Fajardo. This wasn't the Cody Fajardo they had the last 2 years in Regina after all the injuries.
He honestly, to me, he looks like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders in Montreal.
Well, yeah, because in Saskatchewan, you are not only the face of the franchise, you're also public enemy number 1.
Yeah.
The
Come
minute
here,
anything,
come here, go away.
yeah, it's like having a cat. It wants attention for 10 seconds, then it bites you and scratches you and then leaves, and an hour later comes back looking for more. It's like, what do you want?
I mean, it doesn't help when he's got a receiver the caliber of Austin Mack, who we weren't sure how are the Alouettes going to replace a Geno Lewis. How are they going to replace a Jake Winicki? And Austin Mack comes in here and is instantly a rising star in the CFL. Maybe he is now a bona fide star. 5 catches, 81 yards, 2 scores in this one. A lot of that is due to, honestly, lack of technique from the Ticats, like trying to
Arm
body
tackles
check.
don't work.
You're trying to body check the guy.
Yeah.
He bounces off of him and takes it to the house. That's not gonna work, man.
We've seen this week, especially, and on a couple of returns last week. There's a lot of bad form when it came to trying to get tackles. And
Yep.
it's the same thing when you watch junior hockey. It's so exciting because they make mistakes. They're kids. These guys are professional athletes. They shouldn't be making these mistakes, but they continually do, and that's what all these big plays are happening. It's just poor technique.
Yeah. Hey, it makes it exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
the Janarian Grant return. I truly believe
I counted. That was eight tackles.
mistakes make exciting football. They do.
Oh yeah,
But I mean,
that's why Winnipeg is so boring to watch.
Yeah, you never want to be on the wrong side of them. So
No.
that's
You never want to be the
problem there.
Nick Marshall of it all.
And look, Keon Julian Grant is the leading receiver for the Owls. 6 catches, 94 yards. I think, and there were a lot of tackles he was breaking too. He's one of the best players after the catch in the CFL. Guy's a monster and underrated.
Yeah, and sure-handed. Like, he only went 6 of 8. He doesn't drop a lot. He secures the football, and he's willing to like take a hit to get an extra 3-4 yards to get that first down. But he's not careless with it. Like you see some guys who just have no idea, like body awareness. It seems their arms are flaying and the ball is flying out. And yeah, if you have a guy like that, it doesn't even mean like for second downs. Every play that gets thrown to him has an opportunity to go big because he can break tackles. He's so much bigger than the DBs.
Yeah. And the difference is them really finishing drives. Hamilton gets into the red zone twice. They come away with no touchdowns. Montreal gets in there 3 times. They come away with 2 touchdowns. And that is part of I think, the criticism that has gone Jason Moss's way. Being able to move the ball and not being able to finish those drives. Well, so far, Montreal's finishing those drives. And I think early on, maybe that punt return for a touchdown from Chandler Worthy set things, the momentum in Montreal's favor. Although,
you got to look at the special teams touchdowns are like 3 points.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. But I was reading Josh Smith's recap on 3downnation.com, and it's right. Like, the Hamilton player gets called for no yards. It gets picked up saying
he was pushed.
He was pushed in, but he was.
How
pushed
is that not a block
behind.
in the back?
But yeah, he was pushed from behind. So you said he was pushed into the halo, but that's not a flag.
Yeah.
So,
If he's getting pushed from the front, he'd be getting pushed out of the halo.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is it?
Was he pushed or not? Because if
Like,
he was pushed, that's a flag.
Could Hamilton throw the challenge flag? Because like they did on the Janarian Grant one.
Yeah.
They looked at every single
They
block.
did.
Like I don't, and it's a scoring play, so it should be reviewed. They should be able to go back and look at everything.
But I guess we should talk about Steinauer's challenge. Schultz is 8 yards down the field, and he tries to challenge a roughing the passer?
How are you a passer at that point? Can you explain that to me?
Like, it wasn't as bad as the reaches in the Calgary-Saskatchewan game. Just extending over time.
Glad to know it runs in the family. Holy.
Oh, wow. Like, it wasn't that blatant, just trying to reel in a call.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, like I get looking for a shot to the head, but you can't. It's not roughing the passer.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
maybe they just mix up the words, but I honestly don't think there was enough there anyway,
Yeah.
and there obviously wasn't.
Well, those Ticats,
Season's over.
they're not playing together. They, like, individually, they have great talent.
If you have Chris Edwards on your team, do you even look him in the eye after that?
I guess,
like,
we
Do you
should
go
mention
into the
that.
room and lose your mind on him?
What's the appropriate punishment? Like, I feel like that deserves.
That's a one game.
I know he's a great player, but the selfish actions that he took.
Continually. So this isn't
Yeah,
the first
that's
time
it.
he's done something stupid.
So if you didn't see it, Montreal's in the victory formation. Receiver Austin Mack is 5 yards behind the quarterback. Chris Edwards walks
I love the
10,
move.
12 yards up to him, offers him the handshake. Mack puts out the hand and two hand shoves him over, head over heels. What are you doing?
Yeah. But
Like-
this is what we like. This is nothing new for Chris Edwards.
Is he that mad that he got burned
Continually.
for 2 touchdowns from Austin Mack? Because that makes you look like a child if that's what you're doing.
I guarantee you that's what it is. And maybe like, they probably talk to each other all game. Because I don't know a lot of pro athletes that don't jaw at each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure something got said, maybe something crossed the line, but still. Like that it's such a bad look. Like at the very least it has to be a fine. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
I would not be opposed to a 1 game just because like how many times is nobody going to do a thing?
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen is at some point it's going to blow up and somebody's going to actually get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of terrible decisions from higher ups.
Montreal had another dagger drive, the one that put them up 14-6, 8 plays, 90 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, when that's happening. And then in the second half, Montreal had a 74-yard drive in 6 plays, which was aided by a roughing the passer penalty from Hamilton as well. So they didn't have that many penalties, but the timing sure made them count, and Montreal took advantage.
Oh yeah, and like we talk about like undisciplined and timing and how the time that you take penalties, it matters to a point, but like you still shouldn't be taking them. But then you start thinking about it's like, well, no, if you're going to take them at times, you're going to be lucky if you don't get burned. And Hamilton just a couple of those penalties, it's like, oh, that's going to come back to bite you. And sure enough, and it's not even like the big ones. It's the ones that it's 2nd and 4 and you take an offside. Like you're just giving them a free first down.
Yeah.
When after you make a stop, like
it's only 5 yards, but that timing is terrible.
Yeah, and like the roughing the passer ones, like has it just me or has there been way more called this year?
I feel like they've been kind of picking up more than they have in the past.
Maybe, but getting called originally, and then it's just as long as we get consistency, I don't think people complain too much. That's been the biggest issue the last couple of years. Like that Calgary Saskatchewan game could have got real dumb at the end.
Yeah, it
really did. But...
it totally did. This the bad interceptions from Schultz. He had 2 turnovers. He only had 53% completion, but he did have 345 yards. But I will say this, Ty, I think as the game went on, he was playing hurt. He got hammered early in the game, and then one of his right guard, his offensive lineman, basically threw a Montreal D lineman into his knee.
Into him. Yeah, that's smart.
I don't think
it's like the defenseman that cross-checks a forward into the goalie and then gets mad at him.
Exactly. Schultz is a tough character, but I think he was feeling it as the game went on. I don't think
there's just the depth there, right? Like after Schultz.
Yeah.
You don't have much. You kind of want to leave him in, but at the same time, when the game's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah. Those Montreal Alouettes, 2-0. I want to ask you this, Ty. Who are the 2 guys in the CFL that wear the most hats with their organizations? It's Orlando Steinauer and Hamilton.
And Chris Jones.
And Chris Jones.
And they're both should be fired by the end of the year.
Is it a coincidence that through 5 games for those teams, they have no wins?
Not at all. This is because of the coach's cap. And I get something needed to be done. I don't know if we need to go this as far as they did.
I guess I should say 6 games collectively.
6 games, yeah. But like, you look at the teams, like, you want good product and you want, players to be able to to get better and develop. Well, you can't limit coaching. How is that fair?
The best teams have the best coaching.
But then you got guys that got to do 3 different things because you can't.
I know. Yeah.
Right? That's just dumb. We didn't like it from the start.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really did.
And like, what's going to happen with Calgary now? Because Dickinson's doing both. At some point, is that going to catch up to them? Like, it's
look, they're 1-2.
Yeah.
And,
so 9 games, 1 win.
Yeah.
Between those 3 teams.
That's
something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Those Montreal Alouettes, I don't think anybody's going to be overlooking them anymore after that performance.
No, they're the Baltimore Orioles. Like, remember the last 5 years how awesome the AL East was because you could just get 16 wins from Baltimore. Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore at all. The Saskatchewan Roughriders go to Calgary and beat the Stampeders 29-26. Now, let's not sugarcoat it. Both teams facing injury issues. And I misrepresented the stat on last week's episode. It was that Calgary had no sacks from their D-line.
Defensive line.
Yeah, I said the whole defense, but their D-line hadn't had any sacks. They did in this one.
Well, play the Riders O-line. It cures what ails you.
But the Riders have their left tackle starting for the first time in the CFL, and then he gets hurt.
Yeah.
I feel like the Riders of the past wouldn't have been able to overcome that. And Harris was feeling the pressure at times in this game. But, I mean...
he stood in there and took a beating.
It could have been a lot worse considering the patchwork situation with that O-line at the time.
And I think the biggest part of that was that they didn't have to change who played center.
Right.
And I think that probably helped a lot.
Yeah.
You get the clean transfers. He's the one that's the leader of your O-line usually. So, just not a huge change there. You just kind of got a shuffle, but the people that touched the ball the most didn't change.
Both teams were hitting each other with the running game early in the game. So the first half was a quieter one. But then in the second half, it's like everything opened up. It was only 6-3 Calgary after the first half there. Although, look, man, I'll be honest. I learned about the rules on that kick.
You got to come down in bounds.
Yeah, if his knee touches before his elbow,
or his hand, then he's good. Yeah.
Then he's in bounds because he's completely airborne when Henderson batted a fumbled kick into the out of bounds. But his elbow touched the white before his knee touched the green. So he was ruled out of bounds even after he batted the football out, which meant it would have been right or ball. That don't see that one very often.
No, that was obscure. I didn't know about it until I'm like, well, that's dumb. Like, you touched it in bounds.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they show the replay, and I'm like, oh, his hand. Oh, I see what it means now. And then it's like how the rule used to be that if you caught the ball in bounds in the air
and you were
pushed out, it was a catch.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it doesn't matter.
Right.
So I think that's kind of where that comes from. But yeah, that's the first time I can ever remember that being called.
Jamal Morrow, a nice game for the Riders.
That's an understatement.
6 yards a carry, 22 carries, 133 yards. Dedrick Mills, I think Calgary probably would have liked to give him the ball more. 14 carries, 74 yards, but he had over 5 yards a carry as well. And then the second half is when things, I guess, really opened up in this one. And it opened up quite early with the turnovers happening.
That's when I texted him, like, this game had remember that 2013 West Final?
Oh yeah,
where Saskatchewan's defense was flying, the ball was getting turned over a bunch. It just felt like that. It was weird to see a Calgary team not taking care of the football. We see them do it once a game, like losing Grey Cups, but it's rare that a Dave Dickinson coach team is this careless.
Right. But is this sort of a rebuilding year for the Stampeders?
I don't think it's a rebuild. I think it's a retool.
I think that's probably a better
Like
way
what the
to put
Canucks
it.
have been trying to do and failing miserably at.
And we'll get to it, but here we are with their star leadership injured. Reggie Bagleton.
Malik's done for the year now.
With
Ruptured
the
his Achilles, non-contact. Like the scariest words in sports. Bagleton hurt. Kadeem Carey. Mayer didn't look super healthy.
Oh, he got hammered at the end of the game.
He was getting pummeled.
Yeah.
You know, a rookie starting on the O-line.
They lost Lemon and Dennis, which are leaders in that room.
Yeah,
they're a young team.
The veteran leadership isn't there like you're used to seeing in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, a lot of that is one of the best quarterbacks in the league left.
Yeah. So a bit of an adjustment time there, although Calgary always seemed to have that next guy in waiting. Maybe Drew Tate was the transition to Bo. Now maybe Jake Mayer is the guy. But who's behind him? Maybe they do have another guy in waiting. You don't know with Dickinson and Huffnagel there. So the third quarter.
At least we know, though, that they will be like on the payroll and it will be documented. They won't. It's not going to be hidden.
The third quarter starts with Trevor Harris being intercepted by Cameron Judge. Well, and then 2 plays later, Jake Mayer is intercepted by Roland Milligan.
He's been lights out.
He is a great player. And then he takes it all the way to the 1. Saskatchewan punches it in. Early on, it is 9-6 Calgary after Brett Lothar misses the point after, which is crucial later in the game.
Saskatchewan.
Yeah, 9-6 Saskatchewan. So that missed extra point, it's a bit crucial, isn't it?
And that's what they wanted when they moved it back. They didn't want the gimme anymore, and it's played in quite a bit in the last couple of years. I don't enjoy it at all.
Yeah.
Not as exciting as a punt single.
And then the game kind of keeps rolling here, and the Stamps are able to move the ball here, and they have the big 52-yard touchdown to Malik Henry, which looked effortless. Nick Marshall getting burned on that. He sold out on the pass. Now, I don't know if you noticed in the game, Henry burned Marshall, but Mayer overthrew him, and they had a fist bump moment. Well, here, Henry burned Marshall and got the score. It does come back around, but
breaking news: Nick Marshall going for the ball gets burned.
And then the game continues. Like, this is probably, we'll say it, the game of the year so far, as far as excitement goes. And each team only had 5 penalties apiece, so it was fun to watch that way. At the end of the third quarter, it is 17-13 Saskatchewan after Tevin Jones, right at the end of the quarter, I believe it was, has a 44-yard touchdown himself. He's making the most of his opportunity coming onto the roster with the injury to Darrell Walker. And
he's going to make it real hard on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
When everybody's healthy, because you got a guy that's producing like he is. He went 5 of 7 for 75 yards with that touchdown, 18.5 fantasy points. Like, he's playing like that without a guy like Darrell Walker taking coverage away and stuff like it's how do you take him out of the lineup now? Like, yeah, you want to put Darrell Walker back in when he's healthy, but like there's gonna be some tough decisions.
Kind of looks like Jones has kind of won that spot.
I think so, but then at the same time, you don't want to say that you can lose your you lose your injury, but if team's winning, it's like we talked about Bo in the group chat. And we went to the 6th game, and somebody said, well, he's not going to stay there. I'm like, what if they win games with Schiltz? Like, why wouldn't you just leave him there then?
Well, now I hope they don't pull him off early, even if he's not 100%. Like,
yeah,
they might get desperate in Hamilton. And then that is followed up by another interception thrown by Jake Mayer. Now, maybe it wasn't wise to throw the ball. Looked like he was forcing it to Trey Odom-Dukes.
But the one off the foot.
Yeah. I don't know if you can really
That
control
one's
that.
not on Mayer. I don't think that's on Mayer.
Ball gets kicked in the air, and Larry
Yeah.
Dean intercepts that ball. But here's the deal. The Riders hit Sean Bain for a 60-yard gain, and then that ends in a touchdown. So from getting picked off in your end zone to 7 points to the opposition the other
14-point swing.
Riders are up by 10, 23-13 after going for 2 on that touchdown. What do you think of that call?
I understand it because it makes it a 3-score game. Well, it's only a 2-score game, but
because you're up 10.
Yeah, if you go up 11,
you make Calgary get the 2 point.
You're making them go for 2, right? Or if they want to just take the 1 and go on from there, you still have a 1-point cushion. Like, I understand why they did it, but I didn't really like it. I didn't like the call later in the game either.
I feel like you take the single here. We'll get to the call later in the game.
What's my number one rule playing football on the road?
Take the points.
Take the
points. So they missed the 2-point conversion. Well, Calgary answers back with a touchdown of their own.
They were also trying to make up for the missed convert.
Yeah, they were.
So there was that too.
Yeah. Calgary answers back with a touchdown drive of their own. 7 plays, 60 yards. It's 23-20 after Paredes ends up converting the extra point. And then Saskatchewan gets the ball here. 9 plays, 58 yards, and it is on the Calgary 9-yard line. 3rd and 1. You take the points, Ty.
You kick, and you make them drive the entire length of the length of the field.
Yeah.
Now they just got to get to like the 35.
I know. And on one hand, but this season, more than any other, that 3rd and 1
it's far from guaranteed.
No. I don't know what's going on this year. Maybe it's in my head, but that short yardage is not.
Maybe the refs are letting them cheat a little bit.
Maybe, because things aren't going well for teams.
No. Isn't. Well, I think after the record got set last year, I think teams were pissed.
Yeah.
Like the backup quarterback, and I'm like, we're not letting this happen again. We are figuring this out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been incredible that way. So Calgary does what they need to do. They come back. They hit the field goal here with a few seconds left on the clock. But in the process, Mayer takes a big hit. And Pete Robertson, he reminded Jake Mayer that he was in a football game and he's got to keep his head on a swivel. So Tommy Stevens comes in. He moves the ball.
He had played the first 2 snaps of overtime, right?
Yeah. So he had a short pass to Cole Tucker. He had a rush in there as well. But Paredes, 11 seconds left, 53 yards. It wasn't an easy kick by any means, but it was a clutch kick to send this game into overtime. And you're right. Tommy Stevens started overtime off. Here he goes. He rushes for 7 yards. He rushes for 7 yards. Jake Mayer comes back in.
2 and out.
I thought just the way that Stevens was moving the ball.
Why mess with it?
7 or 8 yards a pop. Keep running it at him.
Yep. Basically, you're putting yourself into 3-down territory if you really want it to be. But at the same time, you're going first. So
yeah,
you're going to take the points. But yeah, I didn't like them bringing Mayer back in. I know he's your number 1 guy and he's your starter. But just the way Tommy Stevens moved the ball there in those first 2, it's like they had no answer.
He wasn't happy coming off the field.
No, they had no answer. If they scored a touchdown there, well,
exactly.
Even more pressure on the Riders.
Mayer had 2 passes attempted in overtime. Neither of them went well. The first one was skipped. And then Dave Dickinson throws the challenge flag for pass interference when nothing happened.
Dave threw it for roughing the passer.
Oh, it was roughing the passer.
Yeah.
Craig did it for
Craig
PI.
threw it for PI.
That rough, like, what are we doing?
That look on Jake Mayer's face made me want to throw him in front of a city bus.
Like,
you're such a loser to think you're going to get that call.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
It's not a big, he didn't hit you that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't hit you in the helmet. It's not a penalty. You look like a crybaby.
I think he was still feeling hurt from that previous hit.
Yeah.
Earlier on.
But then I don't like Suter either saying, well, you got the challenge flag. You don't want to end the game with a challenge flag in your pocket. Well, if there's nothing to challenge, what's the point? Why are we just wasting time when we know that nothing's going to happen?
So that drive, that mini game ends in a field goal for the Stamps. It ends in a field goal for the Riders. And then the Riders go again. They kick a field goal, right?
Yep.
And then Jake Mayer, they give it to Dedrick Mills, 14 yards. They give it to Dedrick again, 3 yards. Then Jake Mayer gets pressured.
Throws it in a double coverage.
A ball that should have never been thrown, and he's picked off in the end zone. Third time in the game, second time in the end zone by the hero of the game, Nick Marshall.
Just when I think. Like when I got that text from you, do you understand how upset I was?
I just texted him in all caps, Nick Marshall.
I was so disgusted with how that game ended. And then I'm sitting here.
Ty's number one target, public enemy number one on the podcast, and he seals the game.
I'm sitting on my recliner this morning watching that game. And at one point, I'm like, how in the hell did this game get to overtime? I mean, there's not enough time for all this stuff to happen.
Yeah.
And Nick Marshall, I texted him, I was waiting for the Marshall pick, and I'm going to watch the Elks game. And the minute he picked it off, I just turned it off. I'm like, well, I'm done with this. I didn't actually believe it happened.
And I guess we didn't even mention Craig fishing for the
defensive pass interference.
Learning from his brother, I guess. Like,
oh my God, those two. Like, why?
It adds to the drama, but it's like, what are we doing?
It's not even drama, though.
Both fan bases are like, okay, another time to have a drink, but man, this is terrible.
Well, no, because they stopped serving.
Oh yeah, that's true. I got to tell you, I went to the concession near the end of the first half at McMahon Stadium to get myself a baked potato.
I also saw the options you made. I have some questions.
They call it the Spudinator. So I'm standing in line, and I actually had planned on getting a pulled pork parfait. You can get this cup just jammed full of mashed potatoes, corn, and pulled pork, and you're just eating it with a spoon.
It's shepherd's pie, but with pulled pork instead of
in a cup, like
beef.
It's genius, I think.
It all goes to the same spot.
It does. But then I kept seeing potato after potato.
How did you not just get both?
I should have. So you get some topping options here: jalapeno cheese sauce, caramelized onions, beef chili, pulled pork, gravy, sour cream, grated cheese, bacon bits, green onions, butter, pickled jalapenos, and cheese curds. So I see this guy. I'm like, what did you get? He's like, I got it all.
That's impressive.
Then as I'm filling out my sheet, I'm like, I'll skip the gravy, the onion, and the butter. So I got 3 kinds of cheese.
How do you get a baked potato with no onion and no butter?
Well, I had jalapeno cheese sauce, cheese curds, and grated cheese.
You haven't gone to the bathroom yet, have you?
I don't think so.
Is this another? This is 2018. This is the pierogies all over again.
But that was a good baked potato. That thing's about $1.50 pounds, and it's $9.50. Crushing that in the stands. Like I feel like it's a pretty good value, and I know a potato costs them $1.50 or whatever.
Are you saying baked potatoes are recession or inflation proof?
Maybe they are.
Maybe.
Maybe they are. I don't know if this one came from
You guys are going to end up
PEI or-
with Calgary season tickets now, just so you can get baked potatoes 9 times a year.
I actually think that McMahon Stadium's got some hidden gems when it comes to food.
Well, and the bars are pretty hidden too, because you can't find a place to get a drink. So.
There are some secret bathrooms in the back that are slower than, so that's
The
a
ones
pro
right by
tip.
the door there by the
Yeah.
parking lot that we were using.
Yeah.
There's nobody ever in there.
Yeah. Pro tip to McMahon Stadium.
Yeah, well, don't give away all the secrets. I think the real pro tip would be just tear the thing down.
And then the last game of the week has the Toronto Argonauts, the reigning champs, go into Edmonton looking to extend that home win-loss streak to 19 games. And did they ever? But Ty, it actually looked like the game could go either way in the first half. It was a 1-point game at halftime.
Mm-hmm. And then Taylor Cornelius got pulled for some reason.
See, I thought he was moving the ball pretty well in the first half.
Blocked punt, not his fault.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Oxley doing what he did.
Ooh.
That team is in a lot of trouble right now. And we are week 3, and it's year 2 of Chris Jones's master plan.
So
And it's not going well.
Loxley comes in and they fumble a handoff to Kevin Brown. And
I don't even have a
Loxley-
problem with that part. It happens.
So he gets pulled from the game. And I don't know what was said on the sideline, but allegedly Kyle Oxley was asked to go back into the game on a short yardage play.
And he said no.
And he said no. And he was standing off on the sideline 20, 25 yards from the rest of his team, basically pouting. So here we are Monday after the game. He's already been released.
And Trey Ford is going to be on the active roster, I think, tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
if he's not already.
But Jared Dagey comes into the game in the second half, and he gave the Elks a spot, or a spark. There was a bad interception he threw, but he has 82% completion, 9 of 11, and the game was, let's face it, it was...
The score at the end of the game was a lot more flattering to Edmonton than the game was.
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns. Cornelius, though, 14 of 18, a touchdown, no turnovers. I can't believe I'm sitting here defending Taylor Cornelius, but
It feels dirty, doesn't it?
I didn't think
Do we just hate Chris Jones that much so that we are taking Cornelius' side here?
Maybe. I thought that he got pulled a little early, especially considering where the game was. And I know the Elks had a pick 6 in the first half as well, so that helps. They also had big returns from CJ Sims. It seems like the Elks can't put it all together at once. They haven't had good returns for how
My
long?
golf game.
And they had such a great return game in this one. But Chris Jones continuing with the Josiah St. John experiment on the offensive line is not working. Those quarterbacks have no time at all.
It's almost like he sucks.
It's not working for Edmonton. And if you don't have an offensive line, your quarterback's not going to succeed. So it goes hand in hand there. They got all the talent in the world. But I don't know if you noticed in the first half on the short yardage plays for the Elks offense, they're bringing out defense guys. They brought out Serezna. Like, might as well do that every play. Like, those guys are gonna they're gonna get you first downs if that's what
They're
you want.
good at hitting people. That's their job. They will move them out of the way.
So it looked, I don't know, the first half looked promising for Edmonton. But every single mistake that they made, just like Toronto did a week ago against the Ticats, they were doing against Edmonton. Any little mistake, they made you pay.
And Ouellette found the end zone 3 times.
Hat trick.
Block a punt. Like, just everything that could have went wrong in the worst possible way for Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the drama that's going to be a distraction on the sidelines. Like, I'm sure Chris Jones will say it wasn't to him, but I guarantee you he's probably over there seething. Like, it's such a bad look. In
the second half, it like everything fell apart. I know there was an interception that the quarterback threw, but Geno Lewis, it's a sure touchdown, and he gets stripped on the goal line. There's the blocked punt. There are penalties that extend drives for Toronto. And then they had Chad Kelly for a sure sack. A sure sack. And then he evades the tackler and hits the wide open receiver for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing that Edmonton could have done right in the second half. Somehow, I mean, there's the touchdown at the end of the game.
Yeah, that somehow that was like its redeeming quality from the football gods. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we're not gonna just totally destroy you today.
I'm glad I stayed in my seat to see that touchdown.
Here's a tip drill.
Yeah. So I ended up seeing that Chris Jones, while it's a 4-year deal in Edmonton, it's sort of a year-to-year thing.
Just full of options.
So he's got an out, and Edmonton's got an out, so it wouldn't affect the coach's cap. But he's wearing a lot of hats, and I know we saw this in Saskatchewan, right? Him wearing all the hats with the team. Although,
He's only made it work one time, and that's because he had Mike Riley.
But he was only the coach too, and he wasn't the GM at that time.
Oh, that's right, he wasn't.
It was Ed Hervey as the GM.
That was when Ed still talked to us.
Before Ty wearing a Argos Kevin Glenn jersey.
Super sober.
Runs into Ed Hervey at the Spirit of Edmonton and straight up asks him, "How's your quarterback situation?"
And that wasn't even the night I got kicked out.
And then Ty wakes up the next morning and he asks me, "Why am I wearing a Kevin Glenn Argos jersey?"
And then you started singing Wookin' Panub.
Oh, Grey Cup times with Brazilian Ty and me. What do you say about the Argos? Like, they just, and it's not like Ouellette had a big average, 4.7 yards a carry. Edmonton's tough to run the ball against. I believe that. But when they're continually getting pounded, any defense, no matter how good you are, is going to wear down.
100%. And if you can wear them down, yeah, you can keep running the ball. They're gonna have to sell out for the run. They brought this up on the broadcast at halftime. I can't remember her name. That does the sidelines now for TSN.
Britt Dort, I think.
Yeah. She was talking to Purifoy on their way back out. He said, "We just need to stop the run. That's our number one focus." Well, do you think that Ryan Dinwiddie didn't know that?
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, go ahead, sell out, stop the run. Well, here's some play action. Here's some sweeps. Here's some screen passes, and it just opens the game up when you know that the defense is selling out.
Former Ticat David Ungerer was the leading receiver for the Argos. He had a big 44-yard play, a touchdown, 75 yards on the game. Dejon Brissett, 63 yards in this one. Even Andrew Harris had over 5 yards a carry. They gave him the ball 6 times for 32 yards. Daniel Adeboboye, at the end of the game, 7 carries, 48 yards, 6.9 yards a carry, Ty.
Nice.
And for the Elks, Stephen Dunbar, the leading receiver, 8 catches, 98 yards. They were going his way a lot. Geno Lewis had 5 for 43, and Vincent Forbes catches, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like,
what a stat line.
Those plays at the end of the game made the score look a lot better for Edmonton than in reality it was.
Yeah, and I mean, we see that all the time in football with the garbage time. It's so hard to play defense like BC has done for the last 2 weeks for a full 60 minutes. Like, there are times where it just, not that you give up, but the mental exhaustion, the physical, it's just, you can't. It's really tough to play that for the entire game like that. So it's to be expected at some point. I didn't see it coming from a backup quarterback and a number 7 receiver, but here we are.
33 minutes and 37 seconds, the time of possession for the Argos. So they showed why they're the champs, man. Last year, I felt like Toronto was still coming together until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
But
This
the continuity
it's just
that they had coming into this year, they picked up right where they left off. And I think one of the biggest additions to that defense has been a Darius Pickett. He is flying all over the place for the Argos right now. He had 5 tackles. He had 2 sacks.
And he returns kicks.
Yeah, like the guy is all over for the Argos. They're going to be a tough team to beat in the East. I'm looking forward to some Toronto-Montreal games, but we're going to learn a lot about Ottawa, Hamilton, and Edmonton over the next few weeks, Ty, because those teams are going to be playing each other in one way or another.
Yay.
So what's going to happen?
I can't wait for the Trey Ford Tyree Adams game.
That's another thing. What's going on there? I don't know if he's hurt. But
I think they were stashing him on the 1 game injured list.
That's what it seems like. I think they probably have to start Jarrett Dagey again, don't they?
If you start Dagey,
start him for the first time.
Yeah, if you start Dagey, I think you're basically just telling Cornelius, we don't trust you at all.
Oh, man, what a choice they have. And here's the thing.
None of their choices are great.
Half of Taylor Cornelius's 2024 salary is guaranteed. It would amount to $100,000. Will he be an Elk in 2023 or 24?
That could make him tough to trade.
Yeah.
And if you cut him, are you willing to just eat that? Let's be real. It's not a cap. We're done with that idea.
I'll be honest.
I don't just pay fines.
I don't know if that money becomes guaranteed not until next year.
Yeah, it's probably one of the, as long as they cut him before February 24th or whatever.
But
might just be a roster bonus.
That $100K is a lot to eat if they keep him around. Man, are they calling Dane or BC for Dane Evans? Are they going to be calling McLeod Bethel Thompson? Is any of those an option for Edmonton?
I don't think Dane is.
Yeah, I don't think so. BC's probably not picking up the phone. Oh, a missed call from Chris Jones.
Yeah, no thanks. So you want to bring Dane Evans in and have the exact same thing happen? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. I mean, Damon Allen was at the game. I'm surprised they didn't put the pads on Damon and see what he could do.
Can't be any worse.
They were talking that they were honoring the 93 Grey Cup team, and Gizmo was there. I don't know if they showed it on TV. He faked everybody out. I thought he was going to do the flip.
They did show that. I was like, there's no way. And then I'm like, okay, good, because if he doesn't make it, that'd be
he looks like he could still do it
for the tens of people that were in attendance. Like, they're literally giving tickets away and people aren't taking them.
Giz and Pinball were on the same field. They should have suited them up. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah.
What?
Do you think they could still beat us in a 40?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
You? I was on the city relay team for 100 meters, but not anymore, man. Those days are behind me.
I almost had to run on Friday.
Oh, yeah. If you scare me at the start line, I'd be able to move. Fear is a motivating factor for me. If there's a wasp nest or something, yeah, I could move.
I went looking for a ball and I heard a low hum. I'm like, I'm good. I'm out of here. That's a wasp nest and a log. I'm good.
Fantasy leaders for week 3, Ty. My lineup was a mess, by the way. If I did not have Austin Mack or Malik Henry, it would have been a lost week.
I should have made Olette my captain.
Yeah, you would have lit it up.
Vernon Adams and Jake Mayer, Trevor Harris, Chad Kelly for your round out the top 5. Fajardo with 26.8 points.
Wow.
And these are what the points actually are. Don't trust the points on the website because their stats aren't the same as the stats that the league hands out.
Wow.
Like we're running into that issue still. We got here AJ Olette led the way, 26.4. Jamal Moore was second, only 15.9. He had a lot of yards,
no
but
scores.
no scores. Stanback at 13.6, Kevin Brown 11.3, Dedrick Mills 10.8. Brady Olivera only got 7.3. Like, didn't even crack double digits. And as for the wide receivers, Austin Mack led the way, 25.1. Forbes Montblow 22.6. Those two scores.
Did anybody
really
have
helped.
him?
I would be surprised. Hollins at 22.3, Tim White at 21.3, Malik Henry, even with the injury, still put up 19.2.
Yeah. Man.
And don't pick returners.
Yeah, you don't get return yards anymore, unfortunately.
Do not take, you can take Chandler Worthy and hope that he gets some looks in the offense, but he doesn't get that many. He had 8.2 this week, but a guy like Mary Alford, who should have had 8 points last week, or this week, one of the 2 weeks, got 0 because they took away the return points.
I think returners are one of the most exciting parts of the Canadian game, and to exclude them from fantasy points is a bit of a crime. It's a bit of a crime.
Makes no sense. Now, if we get those points on the back end with the defense,
yeah,
that's a different story. But I don't think we do.
That doesn't happen either.
So, thanks for wrecking it.
There's week 3 of the CFL season. We're only getting started, brother. We're only getting started. Yeah. You can rate, review, and subscribe to Two and Out on your favorite podcatcher. You can like and comment on YouTube as well, and support the show on Patreon. You will get the show earlier than anyone else. Thanks for your support and keeping
I've spent
us
money in really dumb ways.
You're not supposed to say that, Ty.
Oh.
And I want to give a shout out to Bobby, who I met at McMahon Stadium. He's setting the Guinness World Record for the shortest amount of time visiting every CFL stadium. He's doing 9 stadiums in 16 days. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's impressive.
He has this paperwork that he has to keep track of where he is to make the Guinness World Record official, I guess. And he was in Edmonton too, obviously. So good for him for supporting the league.
God, that's like, I hate flying as it is. I just would not want to make. Well, it depends on where he lives, but like 2 cross-country flights.
Well, here's how it worked. So he started the week in Winnipeg, and then he was in Calgary, and then he was in Edmonton. So the next week looks like he'll be able to do Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, and then the last stadium will be Saskatchewan, Thursday, July 6th against the Elks. Is that all of them? Or do you have to do Hamilton? Oh, BC too. Man. Yeah, so he'll probably go home for BC. Oh, he's got to do Hamilton. Or did he already do Hamilton?
I don't know.
He must have Winnipeg to Hamilton to Calgary to Edmonton.
Did he do all 4 games this week?
I think he did.
That's wild. Like the one year, John, Brandon, and Nick and Lacey did 3 in a weekend, and it was a big weekend, they said. I couldn't imagine 4 with the flights, and like you're basically leaving the game going to the airport because you got to make sure.
Yeah.
No thanks. At least now with them spread out, 1 game a day makes it a little easier.
Right. We will talk to you later this week to get you ready for Canada Day weekend. There's only 3 games. We got a Friday nighter, a Saturday nighter, and a Monday nighter in Toronto. The undefeated showdown between the Lions and the Argos.
That game is going to be real good.
We got a fun week ahead and a fun season all the way through with Two and Out.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.